Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 197th edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Disney's number one hater, Jaden.
Howdy.
Howdy. And we've got our resident Irish citizen, aka Fitzy, aka Liam.
Hello.
Hello. I'm so glad we can just dive into the movie. You know what I mean? We don't have to go over anything else we've just been discussing. That's for our ears only. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcasts. So go ahead and subscribe if you enjoy this show. Or don't if you don't. You know, that's fine too. This week, the movie we're reviewing is Before Midnight, which opened in the US on June 14th, 2013. It was directed by Richard Linklater. Once again, it's a romantic drama. And the synopsis says, give me a review of this. We meet Jesse and Celine 9 years on in Greece. Almost 2 decades have passed since their first meeting on the train bound for Vienna. That's it.
Haven't they all been like that?
I don't remember any one of them being quite that bad.
No. Oh, bad. Okay.
You didn't mind it?
I don't mind it. No.
But it's like, okay, we meet Jesse and Celine 9 years on in Greece. The sentence just like provides no context. Which I guess if you're watching this one, we get it. I get that. But for a synopsis, you know what I mean? I don't know. Give me a bit of background. Anyway, whatever. Before Midnight, Fitzy, the trilogy. We've all seen it now for the first time. It's over. What did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it enough, I guess. I don't know, like I'm still thinking about how much I enjoyed it, I guess, because I think the more realistic kind of long-term relationship stuff, it works. It's just the movie's quite different for that from the other two, and it's kind of more like intersected with other stuff, I guess. There's actual other characters in this film. It's just like it feels a bit more like a retrospective of the whole trilogy. I still enjoyed the, I guess, arguments that they had and some of the same philosophical stuff that was there. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see where I end up on it, but I am positive on it as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. I think I sound pretty similar. I really had no idea where this movie was going or what its reason for existing was going to be going in. And the opening 15 minutes gave me no setup or situation to indicate that, which was interesting. You know, because you think about the previous 2 films and it's like, okay, the characters meet on the train. Got it. Right. And it's like, okay, well, then there's the deadline that's sort of established about how long they have. And it's like, you get it and you're on the way. Same thing with Sunset, you know. It's like they meet here. He's got to catch the flight. You understand everything that's going on. They've got this amount of time to reunite. This movie sort of just starts and it's like, okay, and they're together and it's like, okay, like what's the thing this time? And it was I was curious sort of watching the movie as it went, trying to sort of figure out and get a feel for like what it was doing and like what the story was really going to be kind of thing. And I really had no sense of that until the ending. So that was interesting. I needed to wait to see how it ended to sort of understand how I felt about it. But yeah, it's interesting how the outcome shaked out. It left a lot of things quite messy, but quite real, and I appreciate that too. So yeah, I enjoyed the ride, especially not knowing how Jesse and Celine were going to be coming out of it. I mean, who knows? You know, like their whole hotel room could have exploded or something. You know what I mean? A tsunami could have come. I had no idea. So shocking. Jaden, I'm very curious what you thought about it.
I think I'm pretty similar with you guys as well. I think I still really liked the experience of watching it. I think I still enjoyed most of their conversations, but you know, like despite the realistic factor, like I can recognize, you know, oh yeah, it's more real about long-term relationships. You know, obviously it pissed me off. Just some of their arguments. I think it still has like it's still incredibly identifiable as the movie that it once as that it started off as. You know, you still featured their long walks, their long discussions. You know, a kind of charming roster of people that come along. Although this time they do hang around for a bit more. And I do like where we've ended up after 20 years, like starting there. But yeah, I just think that I think the conversations this time around they just feel just less interesting because I feel like Celine's always taking the same stance in every conversation always ends up with Celine in the same position, you know. And it could be wildly different things, you know. And what's Ethan Hawke's character's name again?
Jesse.
Jesse, you know, he could start the conversation fucking 2,000 miles to the left, and she'll always end up back in the same position of, you know, sex this, women this, you know, it's always the same from her side. So that was a bit, you know, annoying, but yeah.
Yeah. I definitely want to talk about that extensively and the differences between the previous two films, of which there are many. But the question I've been dying to know, Jaden, from you is, what did you know going in? Because you've been teasing us with this whole thing of like, oh, I kind of already know what happens anyway.
Well, like I knew that they were married, but I didn't realize that was something that they revealed in the synopsis until like I watched it. So I was like, oh, so maybe that wasn't too bad. But like I'd also seen I'd seen clips of them with the kids. So I knew they had twins, and I'd seen some other stuff, like just like some of their other shots, just because, you know, scrolling on Twitter and people post screenshots, you know. But, you know, it's a 10-year-old film though, so you know, I can't really complain. But you know,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, I get you. I mean, for me, that was Jesus. For me, that was quite a big thing. I was surprised. How surprised were you, Fitzy, with Jesse and Celine, like their situation when the movie starts, where they were at?
I feel like it was like the proper way or the expected kind of way to go, because if you had a third film where they were kind of like uncommitted, again, it would kind of be like unrealistic for their age, I guess. But I was still surprised that they like had kids and stuff. When I first saw them, I was like, oh, they actually materialized, that they made something real, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, right off the bat.
Same from before sunset is when the kids appeared. Is the way she made it seem. It seems like they had sex at the end of Before Sunset, you know, when it cuts to black, and it seems like that's when the twins were from.
Oh, really? Do you reckon?
I don't know. She said the first time without protection. I just assumed it was that. I don't know. And I mean, like, they seem about the right age, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I'm bad
maybe
with
a
kids.
little, but
maybe a little. Yeah, I was going to say maybe. It wouldn't have been far off. I mean, maybe another year or two at most. But yeah. Hey, the fact that they have unprotected sex right after the end of Before Sunset, that just fixes the whole ending for me. So, you know, that's great. Yeah, right off the bat, I was not expecting them to be married with kids at all.
They're not married.
They're not married?
No.
Oh my god, I missed that. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. I did not expect them to be together and have kids at all. It just, I don't know. It feels like it goes against, it's sort of what I was saying. It feels like it goes against like the gimmick of this franchise in terms of there being like this situational aspect to it, you know? That's why when I was theorizing at the end of the last review about how I sort of thought that they might have gotten together at the end of, well, they did get together at the end of Before Sunset. I still have to think about that every single time. But then, like, I sort of had this theory, but then they might have stayed together for a little bit and then broken up. And I feel like there had to be something of them running into each other again. And that be like the common theme of like the situations featured in these movies. This is not it at all. They're just like, they're well and truly a thing. You know what I mean? So that was kind of surprising for me. But a pleasant surprise. And then, like I said, then I was sort of just wondering, like, what's going to make this period in time for them significant? Like, why? Okay, if they've just been together this whole time, then why is this a movie? If that makes sense. Like, what makes this vacation, this day, so significant for them. And I mean, I guess we can talk about that with the ending a bit later. But that was sort of my question going in of like, what's that going to be? You know, I mean, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it. Whatever. What did that end up being? You know, like why? What is the final like reason for this movie? Because I read in the trivia it was like one of the original ideas thrown about is that it was going to be like, it was going to be like literally them like at a regular day in Paris, like taking their kids to school, kind of thing. And I sort of so obviously got jazzed up a bit from that for it to be this Greek vacation, but it's just interesting to think about. I guess that feeds into like what the final message or note of the film is meant to be. I think you already sort of mentioned it a little bit, Jaden, with it just feeling a little bit more naturalistic and realistic. But what was sort of the main takeaway you had from, I guess, the film and the story, if that makes sense?
My takeaway is that they were never meant for each other, and I think this movie kills the previous two films.
Wow! Oh shit!
Like, obviously, I don't know anything about long-term relationships, but the way that Celine tries to pick a fight every time, it just seems like they're not the match that you think they are across those one day relationships, you know. And I think she expresses her like, I don't know, her dispassion, her hatred for him at points, like so frequently across this one day that like, and like, you know, it just seems like years of build up, and it just seems like it's been a constant thing that like she's realized. It seems like she constantly realized that they're not meant for each other, but he's still trying to fight for it to be, you know.
Wow. Okay.
Like at the end of this film, they obviously recommit to each other. But whether that's just a pragmatic thing for their age or whether it's actually because they like each other, I don't know. But I think that this film kind of just says that, no, these past two ones were just fantasy, you know.
Okay. Interesting. I was gonna talk about that with the look of the film as well. I think there's something to be said there.
That's just
because what?
No, I was gonna say something, but I probably shouldn't say it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, you came in a bit harder than I would have. I don't know. You're so unromantic. You know. I think things definitely. I mean, the line at the end of the film that stands out to me is like, if I had to summarize how I felt about the ending of the film, it's the line, Ethan Hawke's line where he says, "It's not perfect, but it's real, and if you can't see that, you're blind." It's like, to me, that kind of summarized how I felt about the ending and what I think the final note of the film is sort of meant to be about. And I don't necessarily take that as like I don't necessarily extrapolate that and think, oh, they were never meant to be together. Like you took that next step, Jaden. I mean, that's an interesting train of thought. But I sort of more saw it as just like, now we're in the weeds. Like this is reality kind of thing. You know, this is what long-term relationships look like, and that's fine. But it's not what we it's not what how the previous two films made us feel, kind of intentionally, I suppose. But yeah, skipping right to the end, how did all that make you feel, Fitzy?
Yeah, I sympathize with Jaden just because, you know, they say they love each other, but I never. There wasn't like there was some moments where you kind of saw it, but I didn't feel it as much as the other films. I do think it is just trying to show a more. It's trying to show the portrait of the relationship that kind of Celine talked about in Before Sunrise, I think, where like you just know each other so much that you're just constantly aggravated by each other. And I don't know if she said, I think she said then that she'd love them more, but that was obviously not the case. But the point of I don't know. I just feel like they had to go here. They had to finally show a more realistic side of the relationship. You can't I don't think 3 films of kind of fantasy would have worked as well, or having this film as just like a kind of like a film about regret or something if they don't end up together. So I think the film serves a meaningful purpose. I just think it does have less of a kind of gimmick or a kind of device for tension or something. Like there's nothing that's really going to happen by the end of the night if they don't do something, although it kind of seems like they're moving
Totally.
towards splitting up. But yeah, I still think this movie was very it served its purpose. So yeah.
Mm. I don't dislike the relationship that was shown. I just think that the stance it takes is that they were never meant for each other.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I could quite say the same thing. It is funny though how like this film, like to what you mentioned, Viti, like this film definitely felt like it was gearing towards a split up at times. And hey, if they split up, I was getting ready to come in hot and say this movie's trash. You know what I mean? But but no, in all seriousness, like, it did kind of feel like the movie could have set up a more specific ending, sort of chosen a lane, I guess, in terms of like what you mentioned, with there being like a deadline and an outcome, like they move to the US or they decide to break up or whatever, like something that which picks a side from some of the possibilities that they establish, kind of thing. And so I don't know. It was interesting to feel like it sort of got nowhere in that sense. It really, to what you're saying, it really was just quite ordinary. But yeah, no, it does very, in terms of there being no deadline anymore. Like it does all those things sort of add up, and there being no setup anymore. Like I was saying earlier, it does all those things sort of add up to feel quite intentional in its design, I guess. That there's really nothing remotely, you know, special or decisive that comes out of this sort of thing. And that sort of made me think like maybe I'd be more emotionally connected to it if there were, at least at my age. But then I also do see the other side of it where like maybe, like honestly, no joke, like if I rewatch this movie in 20 years, maybe like this movie would get me way more when like maybe I need to be in the middle of my midlife crisis to like relate to the film a bit more and just the messiness of it and the blandness of it, kind of thing, of the situation. I mean, um, maybe I need to wait for that because at the moment I was kind of like, I don't know, I would have liked something a bit more that had a bit more punch in the feels, kind of thing. Any which way, if it made me feel sad, that's great. But like, it didn't really make me feel sad. It didn't really make me feel, it didn't give me a sense of wonder. It sort of just was kind of like, oh, this is something, you know. But yeah, I do think it's to summarize, I do think it's the point. It's just like, I don't know if I love that right now in my life, kind of thing.
You're still in the before sunrise phase of
Exactly.
your life, So yeah,
100%. I got to get there. Got to get on the journey for sure.
I think had this film taken any more resolute of an ending, it would have meant for a split in this film. They would have to split up this film. Like had they moved to America, it would have ended in a divorce. Had she taken that job, it would have been a split because he wouldn't be able to handle it. I think had it ended up anywhere other than just recommitting on that in that restaurant, it would have been a split. And if a fourth film gets made, like that screenshot that Andy sent through to the Discord, I think it will just be them split but being friends, and it would be the next film will be them meeting as they exchange their daughters or something like that. I don't see this going anywhere other than like divorce. Yeah,
I agree.
Not divorce because they're not married, but split.
Yeah. I mean, it now is like the perfect time to make another one. 10 years ish later, kind of thing. I wouldn't hate it, honestly. I mean, I do like something about, again, like the ordinariness, the natural sort of just messiness of relationships being long term like that, and like the way this film spends a lot of time talking about like being together with someone forever and what that means and what that's like. Like in a way, like thematically, that does feel like where you'd leave it. You know what I mean? As opposed to giving it a more definitive ending, like I'm talking about, like making a fourth film would be if you were to split them up. But yeah, that is kind of what you would do, I guess. That's funny. I like the idea of them like having to like they drop their kid off somewhere or something, and then they got to like pick them up in 2 hours, and then that's the deadline for that one before pickup, you know.
Before 6:45 after school care.
Yeah. Exactly. Hey, honestly, but I'd be down for it, but like they might not make another one just for the fact that like there's no other time frame to like give it a like what would the title be for real? They ran out
It'll
of
be like
time.
midday, wouldn't it?
Oh, midday. Yeah.
Before
Actually,
noon,
yeah. Actually, yeah. No, that's correct. You'd do that. Cool. Okay. How much we'll sort of do this sort of regular section that's become a regular section for these reviews. How much did we enjoy their chemistry this time, and just the way it's funny because now it feels like at first we were sort of talking about the acting and like the dialogue and how great it is, and like but that's I mean we can talk about that if we like, but that's like well established at this point. So like at this point I'm sort of more interested in like talking about like the characters and sort of diving deeper into what we've already been talking about, like where they're at and what their dynamic is like in this movie and how much we enjoy watching them on screen still, kind of thing, you know.
Did Ethan Hawke look like this for Boyhood, right? Because like I haven't seen Boyhood, but in the screenshots I have seen, he looks like his character in this. Was that why he looked so scruffy? Or
do you look very similar?
Do you reckon that was like a character thing as well?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he looks very different on like press stills and stuff. So I don't know.
Oh, press stills for this movie?
Yeah, like around the time.
Gotcha.
Like interviews and stuff.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
As far as like the dynamic goes, I think it's probably like I don't want to say it's like the best it's been because it's been very high quality, but I think the fact that it feels so true to life is incredible. Like we had the fact that we have had these fantasy stages where like they are like it is kind of incredible to witness and like the acting of kind of this like high romance, but then to now have it to the opposite extent, it's I think it is fantastic. I think it's very easy to buy the length of their relationship. That they the way that they like kind of bounce off each other, and like it's interesting that they feel like a team so much, but then at the same time you can just tell how much of a division there is, especially in that like dinner scene. It is just painfully like present. I think all that stuff's fantastic.
So okay, but like you mentioned earlier, like with the sort of when they start arguing and stuff, is that like what's the ratio for you of like recognizing the quality and like what they're doing for how it's changed versus like just enjoying it? Because I thought you mentioned like the way the way the arguments start annoyed you at times.
Well, I think like it annoys me from I kind of view them as two separate things of like the quality of the acting and the dynamic, and then the quality of the dialogue. Okay. Not because like the dialogue still high quality, obviously, but it just talks in circles and it always ends up at the same point is the issue. So like I see those as different things, kind of.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. In terms of like the not the dialogue side of it, like they're actually, I guess it is. I don't know. It's kind of both, I guess.
They do lean on each other, I guess. It's kind of unfair for me to separate them.
Yeah. How dare you? No, but like their dynamic is different again this time, which I liked. Of course, that's sort of what I was looking for, and I did get that. Just not in the way I expected, but
she just she just resents him, and like there's like an air of detest like against him.
I never felt it that strongly the way that you seem to.
Every time they talk about the book and his career, it comes out painfully like strong. And like when she talks about like how inaccurate the book is now, like in Before Sunset, it's playful of like, this and this, and am I your little French girl or whatever. But now like it's I hate the way you've written me, it's like this. She hates this idealized version of her that he's created or whatever. Like, and I think that is what built the resentment, kind of thing.
And then she has to sign the book.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that was painful. It was like the most painful scene. But like, yeah, I think there's like in just back to the dynamic. Yeah, they're like the main difference is that resentment that she harbors.
Okay. See, I sort of took the dynamic as, well, first of all, I like how each film adds like a layer to it, where like Before Sunsets, it's all there on screen. It makes sense. It's very charming. Wait, that was the wrong one. Sunrise.
First, yeah.
Fuck me. Before the other one, the next one, like we talked about that. I love like the past lives sort of feel of it, and like the what ifs kind of thing. And then that was great. And then this one, the next layer on top is like reality. It's like married, talking about careers, but like not in like, oh, I'd like to be this one day or whatever. It's just like, I've got this job, it sucks. Can I get this new job? And then of course, custody of the kid. What was his name? Bloody he had like an old
Hank.
Was it Henry? It was Hank.
Hank.
It was Hank. Yeah, it was Hank. Yeah, I knew it was like a weird name. Yeah, like the custody of him and wanting to be with him, potentially relocating this thread that comes up. It's struck me as, of course, very different to the idealism and the hypotheticals of the previous films, and that's sort of what this film added in that department for me. Which was, again, I don't know, sort of goes back to what we were saying earlier, but it's just like interesting. It's like it's just very, very grounded. It's sort of, you just enjoy it in a different way, I guess. I appreciate it in a different way, but it's not as enjoyable. Even though like the pacing of the dialogue and like the banter between the actors is still like the same. It's funny. It's like familiar in that, that scene in like obviously the scene in the car at the start, and then like, the scene where they're walking through the town. It's like those feel so linked to this franchise. Those feel so on point. Just the way they're executed and everything, and like, and the acting and all that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. But it's just funny how like the nature of the conversations and where they're at in their lives just changes so much about the way you see it, kind of thing. But yeah, Fizzy, was it still all there for you?
I guess I was kind of saying this earlier, but I do sympathize with Jaden in that, like, the kind of circular nature of their arguments, I guess, and how Celine is like in this film. She's just more like, she was always kind of resolved, but then this resolute personality has kind of become more bitter, I guess. Which I guess is, I don't know, like as you said as well, Zach, like we're just inexperienced enough. Like how can we say this is true to life? But everyone else seems to think it is. But
it feels like it is. Like even if I don't have that experience, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I just would have liked a bit more of their previous dynamic, like a bit more of their like previous affection and just kind of the simplicity of that. Because like it, I guess it was there, but I just didn't feel that as much. And I think that's what maybe was missing for me. But I think the dialogue is still, and the acting is still like top quality.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is just more kind of circular. Yeah.
That kind of playfulness, I guess you're talking about. It's there in sprinkles. Like you get that. Like I would describe that whole church scene as that. Not that it's that long, but that's kind of there.
I didn't like that though.
It was a bit awkward.
I just didn't like it.
You didn't like when she licked her?
No, I didn't
do that all the time.
It's sacrilegious.
Yeah, she's still pushing his buttons even there,
Oh, the thing that she did that annoyed, well, it kind of annoyed me, but it annoyed my mom the most, was like the way she didn't give him the phone when she talked to his son.
Yeah.
Oh,
she did that twice.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, is she doing that intentionally or what?
Well, actually, what is the intent behind that?
I don't think she was. But
no, I don't think she was.
Now that we're talking about how much we hate Celine, I just thought Just forgot that in
Yeah.
there.
I didn't realize we were so team Jesse on this.
We're just men, you know.
Yeah, true. There were definitely. I mean, well, I on that, like, like, I guess I just thought like Celine's relationship with Hank and like the way that she really stepped in as a stepmom was really sweet in general. I do agree with the phone point, and like, and Jesse brings that up, and that sort of kickstarts a whole new gear of their argument. But just in general, I was like, oh, that's sweet, that's cool. Like that made me like Celine more, like having that quality of being able to, check in on your stepkid and like care that much about him. So I don't know. Jesse got pissed off about that aspect of it, but I was like, for me, he's probably used to it. For me, I was like, oh, that's like that's like plus pro there, +1 to Celine. So that was good. But then, yeah, I mean, how do you even begin breaking down this whole argument scene? It kicks into a whole new gear, I think. This has to be like the most edgy scene in this frame. Edgy is probably a bad way to describe it, but it actually definitely is. But you know what I mean? It has to be like the most. We talked about, like, there was that little moment in Before Sunset, when they're in the car and things got a little bit heated for a moment. But that was sort of out of passion and out of wanting kind of thing. This was just more like, this scene was like just straight up conflict in like the most basic relationship sense you can imagine. But yeah, without taking it in any particular direction, I'm just really curious what your thoughts on the scene were overall. Because it was a beast in the movie. It was 28 minutes long, and that's like a large chunk of it,
I mean, like, obviously the nudity, this.
Oh yeah,
this being like choosing to reserve it for the final film of the franchise when they're in their 40s is interesting, and kind of counter what Hollywood typically does, where you want to exploit the actresses as young as you can,
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing. I know, in like a meta sense, but also, it really just speaks to
the industry. Yeah.
Speaks to the maybe like quality of the rest, like the casualness of it all. Speaks to the quality of the relationship, I guess.
It was kind of like just. I agree with all that, and I think it was fitting for like what we've already talked about, what this movie is.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it was kind of distracting, to be honest. Like at a certain point, I was like very happy when she put her top back on, because I was just like, because they're just talking and I'm just like, can we please? And then thank God she did. But anyway, it's fine.
It's a shame that Ethan Hawke didn't hang dong. That's
exactly.
Should have been.
Where's the equality, man? I'll just say an aspect of it that struck me was like the fact that the most dramatic scene in this whole franchise takes place in the most bland hotel room I've ever seen. I just thought that was another thing, like with the topless, that was sort of another choice that lends to that, where it's like, we have these beautiful settings in this franchise and even in this movie as well. And it's just like, where are we going to put this beast of a scene? We're going to put it in this hotel room that's like got nothing special about it at all. That definitely stood out to me.
I just think that this is one of the arguments that annoyed me the most as well, in that it's just she continuously dredges up shit from the past and like shit that feels relevant to kind of hammer a point home that was never even needed to be made because it never started. Like this was like probably like the most frustrating conversation they've had, given its length as well. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like obviously, we as the viewer, I as a man, am buried in Jesse's perspective. And like, it just feels like she's constantly attacking him. It just feels. I don't know. Hold on. Not that she's constantly. It feels like she's looking for the split, and he's not. And I just think that the way that the conversation delivers this point is annoying.
Were you absorbed in the scene though? Like,
yes.
Was your annoyance distracting, or was it like
no?
Was it a sign of you being engaged? Yeah.
This is all still high quality stuff, and this is engaging stuff, and great, and I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, right. It wasn't like an annoyance where it's like this is distracting and taking
Yeah,
me.
yeah. No, no.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. Yeah, that's good. I was very absorbed in the scene too. It was a roller coaster. I definitely agree. I think I was largely on Jesse's side too. Um, again, men, we're cool. I mean, especially when it comes to the point about Hank and his custody. Um, he was look. He was just trying to raise valid feelings about feeling like he could be there more and do more. And he was just trying to have a discussion about it. He said it like 3 times. I'm just trying to have a conversation about this. And every time I was like, yeah, I get it, dude. I get it. And then she kept like coming in with like, why it can't happen. It's like, just let him. Just,
And but then like I understand like and that's how we feel, right? I don't know, Liam. Is that how you feel as well?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's because we're the male perspective. Like I just think if there was a woman on this podcast, she would just probably take the opposite stance. Like I just think I think we're just too singular minded in like that. We want to try and talk about this one thing, and it's just I don't know. I just think it's a difference in for all they discuss the difference in genders and sex across this entire thing. Like I think this is probably like one of the places where the audiences will feel it the most in just interpreting like this scene, this dialogue, and this consequences differently.
Yeah,
But like, yeah,
quite possibly.
but like, what's her case? I guess because like, she said she said she's always the one that makes the sacrifice. So, like, why is she the one that has to do this? And that's kind of her main point. The idea that Jesse isn't just like bringing it up or whatever. He's basically starting to force a road where she has to like come to America with him. But like, I'm not sure what. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I'm not sure where in their relationship she's had to do that before. Maybe it was hinted at somewhere in this film, but I don't know. Like maybe it was something to do with the birth or something, but because it has to be rooted in something, otherwise it's not like a realistic argument, I guess, or it's just her personality. But I don't think that I don't know.
It was
Does she say like she's nearly died in birth while he was off like sleeping with that chick from the bookstore?
Now, shit. There was a lot in there. I thought the birth was that they went back to Paris together because she wanted to, and like he was saying he made that sacrifice for her. Remember that when it was like,
yeah,
and she wanted to be with her mum.
Yeah, I know that, but I was just trying to see if there was something there to like what she sacrificed or whatever.
Well, her main point was sort of, I think, as I recall, it was like sort of the everyday stuff of like always, doing all the stuff that she doesn't have any time to think for herself because she takes care of everyone else. It was I don't know if she had any other more specific examples, but
that's why it annoys me, not from the sense that not in the sense that Jane's talking about, like that it does annoy me in that sense, but in the sense that there's no that it might not be based on anything. It's just kind of like her personality, I guess, and like how she's changed.
Celine's just annoying.
Yeah, right.
But once again, I think it is based on something, but we just don't have the perspective.
Yeah, but I think we should have the perspective. Like,
I think a female viewer would have that perspective of the daily sacrifices that you have to make. Because obviously we see the big sacrifices of Jesse doesn't live with his son. Right. Jesse goes to Paris for the birth. Jesse does X and Y. He has to pick up this teaching job that to support the family, whatever. But but that's obviously what we've been more learned in. But then, whereas the daily sacrifices that she has to put up with is something far more real for the opposite sex. So, like,
yeah,
I think it probably is valid, but I don't know. I like the perspective of it at least.
Yeah,
I feel like
really gets exposed our limited kind of
Oh, I'm just letting you do it, man.
How male we are,
It could be that, I guess.
I think, yeah.
But that could also just be an excuse for the fact that the movie didn't really implant her perspective in the film more, or like give us her side more you know.
Well, get your mum in
Possible.
here. Let's see what how she felt.
Mm.
Did she have any sympathy for Celine? Obviously, not in regards to the child like thing, but like, did she express
Oh,
anything?
I can't remember. Um, yeah, I have no comment on that.
Mm. I just think the other thing is that like she talks about this expectation for women, but like I feel like in terms of not showing things, is that isn't shown. You know, I feel like
Right.
she talks about like the women are expected to be nurturing, and like she's suffered from that. I feel like we could have benefited had
That's what I'm
that been.
saying. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like they,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No, you're right. That fact. Yeah.
mm. It's maybe a bit of both, I guess.
I think Celine, yeah, I don't know. She it was weird because she kind of just going back to the custody thing for a second. It's like she did raise a good point about the move or the idea of moving back to the US not being worth it. Like she came in for a hot second and
Mm.
went like and started spitting logic where she was just like, it's not worth moving back there for the amount of if we don't get joint custody because we'd only get X amount of time with him and therefore it's like and I was like, oh yeah, that's great. That's a great point right there. Nailed it. And then like and I thought, yeah, that's a totally valid point. And then, actually, totally, which I totally agree with and think is correct. And then bloody Jesse was just like, yeah, that's cool. I just wanted to have a talk about it. He was very non-committal about wanting to move to the US. You know what I mean? And then
Mm.
it just sort of came back around again. It's like, oh, but you keep wanting to sacrifice. It's like, I don't know. I feel like we resolved this. I guess what you're saying as well. I feel like we resolved this, guys. You know what I mean? We didn't need to. It didn't need to keep being a thing. But then at the same time, like I do obviously acknowledge that I'm not 100%. I'm not diehard Team Jesse here because like I agree with what we're saying, but at the same time, it's like he said some things in there that's like he shouldn't have said that, right? Like he came in a bit hard when he said I fucked up my whole life because of how good you sing, and like there was he had a few little lines in there when he was really his most aggressive, and it was like didn't need to say that. That was definitely a mistake. That was definitely too savage. So I'm not so just to balance it out a little bit. You know what I mean? I feel like Selena had some good points. Jesse came in too hard at various points as well. Even though I do agree with
Mm.
what you guys have been saying, but
Mm.
there's a lot there. It's not all one sided.
Yeah.
Mistakes were made.
But yeah, well, I don't blame Celine. I blame Richard Linklater. I blame. It's like the Noah Baumbach thing of like in Marriage Story, like portraying the male as like way better than the woman. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I did I did honestly feel for her when she was talking about her daily sacrifices and when she said she doesn't have time to sing and make music anymore and pursue her own hobbies. I did feel for that, and I didn't really appreciate personally. I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. I didn't really appreciate Jesse's comeback to that, being like, "Well, what do you say? Oh yeah, because she was comparing like her creative pursuits with like
Instead of
writing to
writing,
like
it's
his
not a
writing
hobby.
exactly."
Not
And
a
he said
hobby.
because he was making the argument that it's his job, and therefore
But
that's
it
how he
is.
makes time for it. Yeah, it is, but like that wasn't really at all her point. She was just saying that she feels like she hasn't got any time to herself to be able to pursue her own hobbies and shit,
Mm.
and time to. And I think that's I totally related with that aspect of it personally. So it's just like I feel like making the comment to if she makes money from it or not isn't really relevant to what she was saying at all. Like,
Mm. But just on that, what time is she actually giving up? Because he talks about like the one drops off, one picks up, so there's that's equivalent. I guess there is probably like the whole bed and bath kind of and like food thing, but like I feel like that's something that can just be resolved in dialogue between the two. At some other point in their relationship that doesn't have to without having to build to this point. Like
oh, like they should figure out their
yeah,
in-ring time management skills better.
given the way that they've been shown to have like to talk and be candid with each other throughout the series, it feels like a point that should have been resolved already. And it just
Mm.
feels
Mm.
like it feels like another non-argument almost of something that she could have mentioned to remedy, but chose not to. I don't know. But once again, that feels
Yeah,
too unfair on Celine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It does. You know, it's funny. I totally agree with that. But at the same time, it's like I feel like that's not really criticism of the movie. It's actually probably a compliment to the movie in the sense that like we could if this was a podcast where instead of reviewing movies we got to watch people's arguments and review them. It's
Mm,
like we would say the same thing about like almost anyone's argument on earth about putting the holes in it of like why are you saying this now? This is
mm,
terribly timed. You know what I mean? I feel like sort of that's just what arguments are, if that makes sense.
sure.
And how they come up, and it's just like any third party observer would just be like, including me and my own arguments. You know what I mean? Just be like,
Mm.
don't know about that, bro. Celine had a killer line in this sequence though, when she said, "Kissy, kissy, titty, titty, pussy, snore." I laughed so hard. So shout out to that.
That's good.
Good. I'm glad. Okay. I guess in terms of the look of the film, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I'm curious if you guys had any takeaways as well. I feel like there's a lot of very deliberate choices here that. So I mentioned with the hotel already a little bit, but it's sort of even going to like the picturesque aspect of it and like how Greece is photographed and stuff. I just feel like it's quite intentional and quite it fits well with like what the film's about without it ever being like it's not like it's fucking stormy or anything. That would be weird, but you know what I mean. It feels like I don't know. Like I saw like a lot of like stark midday brightness as opposed to like the very pleasant, dreamy sort of sunsets and rises and night times. It's still very beautiful, but it's also just very like it's very lunchtime. You know what I mean? It just feels like a very ordinary time of day, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. That felt intentional. We kind of we open with that kind of no, we don't open there, but we're like after the airport scene, we open with like that car scene as well, which is very kind of bland. And I think that was the point of the film where I was least engaged, just because they start off with completely no context and they kind of throw you into this. They're talking about some work situation or something, and it's very like rooted and like practical, and like it's so out of context. You really have no idea what they're going on about. But then they kind of transition into like their normal kind of spiel. But I think that was like almost bland enough to be to not fit, I guess, or to be it wasn't exactly picturesque. So
Yeah,
I think for the most part it works. But there are some parts where I was like, again, I just want a bit more like romance. I want a bit more like nice stuff.
yeah. I even feel like opening at the airport is a bit of a statement in
Mm,
that respect. Um, not like a massive one. This film's not big on massive statements any which way, which obviously, but like just in terms of, um, I don't know. Again, another example of a very understated scene. Um, I like how there wasn't any sort of huge, emotional like Jesse cries and hugs his kid. You know what I mean? It's like they would feel very out of place, and so I appreciated how on tone it was for this series of just like you feel the love. It's all there, but it's very, you can see they've done this before. It's it felt like something you'd observe at an airport kind of thing. Nothing crazy going on. No movie shit going on, as I put it. And I mean, it's the only scene. The kid is an important part of the movie. It's the only scene he's in. But I thought Ethan Hawke did a really good job in that scene of like conveying the consequences of his choice to live over in Europe and what that means, just all in that scene, and then that carries throughout the rest of the movie
yeah.
without having to double down on it. Yeah. Jaden mentioned the dinner scene a bit earlier, but I just wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts on the fact that other characters are in this movie.
Well,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
I was gonna bring that up. Like, it's the biggest point of difference in that. Yeah, we actually have a supporting cast.
Exactly. It's like a revelation.
That bigger than
Yeah.
3 lines.
Yeah.
Like, I think I like the purpose that they served. But it was interesting once again later that Celine weaponizes it. Where she talks
When did
about
she do that?
When she talks about like how like he's a perv and like how she's weird, like and like she's weird, like the anthropologist and the other and the wife, you know.
Is that? Oh, hang on. Was the the anthropologist? He was like the middle-aged Greek dude, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he was cool. Oh, yeah.
No, but she called him a perv, and you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm
is,
disagreeing with that. Yeah, that's not.
I quite like the young couple being a glimpse at, you know, a version of them, and you know,
Yeah, definitely. I really liked that middle-aged Greek man. He was cool. No,
nah, it was weird. I'll stand with her on that. Yeah,
is it because he was Greek or? But no, I liked all their conversations about. I liked like Jesse explaining his next book. That was really fun. I don't know what it was about it. Like when he was saying he was saying something about how his third book is going to be the longest and most different or something, and I feel like that's got to be like a meta parallel to this franchise. What he was talking about.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I like that. I thought his book sounded cool. If there's a book, hey, there's got to be a book out there that's similar to what he described because I would read that book. I thought that sounded great, to be honest.
Does
I was into that.
But is that his third book, or is that his third book in the trilogy? Because he spoke about writing other books in like Before Sunset about like wanting to write, you know, the book that takes place within a song and all that shit. So like, is he just talking about like the third book in like this trilogy of, you know, his like story, or like overall?
Yeah. Like, he's already read it. He's already written his third book because the guy who was like the older guy who was like mentoring him or whatever, who was like the older writer, like said he liked that the best.
So that's true, yes.
But it was sorry, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, and he said it was the longest, but it was already written. Yeah, that's right. My apologies. But yeah, I liked all that banter. I didn't think I could enjoy a dinner scene, a social dinner, like this, considering I can barely stand them in real life. So it was really cool to have other characters around getting to, I don't know, just other actors getting to feast on the dialogue in these movies kind of thing, you know? It's just like, not that there was like any like amazing standout performance or anything, but it all just fitted really well. And it was just like, I can imagine just it being fun to, you know, share the spotlight a little bit, Richard, you know what I mean? Write these scripts for some other people. So that was cool. I've got a little bit of trivia here. Ethan Hawke described. Oh, this actually. Maybe I should have just opened with this and like we could cut 20 minutes of the conversation. But Ethan Hawke described Before Sunrise as a film about what might be, Before Sunset as a film about what could or should be, and Before Midnight as a film about what is. I love that. I think that's very accurate. But yes, but what is? I want what is to be a divorce next time, guys. Just saying. I really don't. Although the movie features naturalistic dialogue, every scene was once again heavily rehearsed, rigidly followed the script, and involved no improvisation. Just the third reminder of that, everyone. It needs to be reminded every time because it blows my mind.
They had writing credits again. Is there anything? Was there? Do you know? Is there anything that feels like they wrote it? You know.
Good question. Nah, it's hard to tell. I did read in the trivia that it was about they all decided to do the movie because they'd all become parents, and that's why they felt they could contribute to the script in the way they did. So I assume it's just all there, you know. In all their whenever they complain about their kids, they wrote that one, you know. That was their line.
How old was Ethan when he had Maya? She should have been way younger, shouldn't she?
Oh, yeah, probably. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't all parents. Like, all three of them. I don't know. I'm not looking up all their kids' ages, man. I'm not doing that shit. While Jaden's doing that, while I refuse to, just a bit of fun here. I love doing this. IMDb coming out here with the worst trivia of all time. Prepare yourself. In the final scene, Jesse, played by Ethan Hawke, tries to win round Celine, Julie Delpy, and refers to himself as a time traveler. Ethan Hawke played a time traveler.
Predestination.
In Predestination.
I was thinking that.
2014. That's it. That was the trivia. And that trivia had 200 dislikes. Well deserved. Well deserved right there. Let's get to our final verdicts for Before Midnight. Jaden.
I still really enjoyed it. I think I might have come across as too negative. But it's an 8 for me, pretty on par with the previous stuff. It's just that there's just a very different route, and I still enjoyed everything they presented us with. But saying that is wrong because obviously I've talked about my annoyance. But you know what I mean. I enjoyed my annoyance with it.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
this movie feels very. We've done a hopefully not awful job at talking around it, but it does a very good job at feeling very on par with its predecessors, but also very different at the same time somehow, which is interesting. It's a 7 for me. I thought it was a really good movie. I really liked it. Maybe ask me again when I'm 45 and I might give it a 10. Who fucking knows? Liam.
Yeah, I agree with the thoughts that you've put up. I'll also give it a 7. And hopefully I'll understand later,
Exactly. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Let me tell you, if we can do it, anyone can. And that's thanks to Zencaster. Like a lot of other podcasts out there, our show is recorded over the web every week. But trying to record a podcast with platforms like Zoom and Discord can be an audio quality disaster. I'm sure you've heard some of the podcasts I'm talking about with long delays, sound cutting in and out. It is not pleasant. Zencaster captures studio quality sound for all of your guests right from your web browser. Zencaster's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. And with Zencaster's all-in-one platform, you can create and distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations all in one place. Go to Zencaster.com/pricing and use our code CinemaEffect to get 30% off your first month of any paid plan. That's Zencaster.com/pricing with promo code CinemaEffect with an E for 30% off today. Feel a sense of Zen with Zencaster. Let's get into some news chat. So we got this trailer for this Joker movie.
Dude, you're the one who likes it the most. Why are you like?
Because it's fucking title. Liam,
it's short words. It's not,
But I just can't remember for the life of me how you say this thing.
I don't know. Fully ado.
Fully ado?
I don't know. I don't actually know.
That sounds okay. But I'm going to... See, the annoying thing is my annoyance stems from the fact I'm going to have to ask you 10 more times. That's the honest truth. You know what I mean? I'm annoyed at myself.
More cultured, mate. Come on.
I'm annoyed at myself, but more over that, I'm annoyed at Todd Phillips for naming this movie that, to be honest. But yeah. So I think, what does it means? I read it means madness for two.
It means mental illness in French, doesn't it?
I don't think that's true.
I swear that's what it is.
I think that was a joke.
What? No.
I think it means something for two. It's like, because it's about Joker and Harley.
Delusion or mental illness shared by two people in close association.
There you go. Mental illness. Yeah.
Mental illness. Joker, mental illness. Yeah. I should have called it like whatever society is in French.
Society.
Anyway, what the hell do you think of this goddamn trailer, Liam?
Yeah, it was alright. It was kind of, I don't know. I liked Lady Gaga in it. I thought she might be a good Harley. Her Harley costume was pretty cool. I don't know. It left things pretty vague, so I don't really know where it's going or where it can go. I kind of thought, are they gonna like add Batman now, or like how are they gonna evolve this?
Right.
Or is it just gonna be more kind of like social commentary, kind of society stuff, which it kind of seems like it is. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah. First of all, I love this trailer. I think this movie looks phenomenal. I'm all in. But I'm also Joker's #1 fan here. And this looked like more of it, and I'm in. I don't see them adding Batman or anything like that. I think this film, more to what the latter part of what you were saying. I think it's going to lean more into like the final act of Joker in terms of like the madness, the chaos, like sort of the scene where he dances on the steps, and sort of double down on that, like what's real and what's not. Double down on that aspect of the film, as opposed to the first two acts, which are more straightforward until it becomes like twisty or whatever, until it becomes crazy and violent. So I think it'll double down on that. Add Lady Gaga, make it a musical. I think it'll be a little bit more abstract in those senses, but I don't know. I am curious. My main concern, I suppose, I think it looks gorgeous. I thought the trailer was really well edited, had a lot of punch. It was very exciting. I guess my main concern is that this film just ends on a note. I don't want it to just be another ending where it's like, oh, did anything we saw, was it real or not? And it's just like, you need to give me more than that this time. You know what I mean? Because like, I'm already going to be going in questioning like what is the reality of the film and what that means. So I need some smart answers, I guess. But yeah, we'll see about that. But the trailer was cool. I liked it a lot. Jaden, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I need to rewatch the film to like just probably justify my dislike for it. I think, and like, because like I think this trailer looks cool, but like I just remember just being so intensely annoyed by the first one, and like I just don't think this one's gonna really do anything differently. I don't know. Yeah, like it's a nice trailer, but like I'm like, can it be a nice trailer if I don't like the first one? Like, do I like the
yeah,
first
of course
one?
it can. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just exudes wankerism to me though. The French title, the musical aspect, this whole everything about it just feels wankerish. And I think that's like kind of what I hate about the first one. So I don't know. We'll see.
It's funny. I don't feel like the first one is very. I mean, I think you can call it. I think it's arguably like shallow. I don't really think it's
the shallowness. The shallowness isn't really what kind of annoys me because like I don't care if the movie's shallow. So like I don't know what it is that has set it off so terribly in my mind, but like I just can't get around it. So I don't know. Maybe a rewatch is warranted to figure out my proper feelings for everything.
I think I agree with Fitzy about Gaga. I think like I'm confident this film will deliver two great performances regardless. Like I think Joaquin's fantastic.
He wasn't even that good in the first one.
Oh, dude, he was so good. Oh my god, I could not disagree more.
Oh, well, because he laughs when he's sad.
No.
The shittest fucking best actor win ever.
Dude, go back and look at the nominees for that year. Like would he? I guess I don't know. Would he beat Leo? I beat him over Leo in Hollywood. I would.
Oh, I rewatched that last night. There's no shot. No, Leo's fantastic. Okay, so
everyone else, nah, I don't know. I disagree with that, but that is obviously a point of contention. I recognize that, but everyone else, nah, dude, he is definitely fantastic. So yeah, and he looks fantastic in the trailer. Gaga's great. If they have good chemistry, that's like, which I assume they will. It's like, that's gonna blow my mind, you know. Should we move on, or are you guys looking at the nominees? We can move on. It's fine. I'm shutting you down. I'm shutting down any possibility of debate. Get wrecked. I'm right. Maxine. This trailer came out from Ty West. He's back at it in this X franchise. Jaden, what do you think?
I'm still yet to see Pearl, so I'm a little bit behind.
Same.
As a but I'm a big Ty West fan. But my least favorite film of his is when he touched real life too much in The Sacrament because it felt a really dishonest portrayal of it. And this time around, like I'm not sure if this is the real Night Stalker, but they named the killer in the trailer as the Night Stalker, and that's a real killer. So it just it sets off a warning bell in my head of like, is he going to get too close to real life and then like do some disrespectful shit again? Because that is like The Sacrament's very distasteful. It's a good film, but it's very distasteful, and like that harms it. So I'm just worried about it approaching that territory. But like other than that, I think everything presented in the trailer is great. I think Mia Goth is great. I think this seems interesting. I think the way this has all progressed seems fun. I don't know. Yeah, like I'm keen for it, but yeah, I'm also just a touch worried.
So, in what way would it be distasteful?
So with the sacrament, it takes a very real tragedy, but it doesn't acknowledge it as its source, and then it just kind of exploits it in the worst way that a film can, because like it treats it as fiction when it isn't. Although like none of the names are shared, it is beyond obvious to anyone that has any knowledge about this thing that this is what it is. So it just felt very wrong as a film experience. So I don't think this is going to be to that extent, because when you're only taking the name of a killer, or I don't know how far it will be.
I expect it to be pretty far, because it's the exact same time. So the Night Stalker in LA, it's like the exact same thing.
Oh, is it? Okay, right.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't sure what time he operated in, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's spot on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that does worry me a little bit, just in case he reaches similar levels of distaste. But it's a minor worry, I guess, in the end.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. This film has a stacked cast, which was kind of shocking. I don't know. I don't really think of X as having a stacked cast personally. I know, like, bloody what's his face, Kid Cudi's there and stuff, but it's just like, oh, and friggin' what the other chick is there. Jenna's there, yeah. So I guess it kind of does, low key, but like, I don't know. Like, this has a more traditional stacked cast in my brain anyway. Seeing Giancarlo there, seeing I love Bobby Cannavale. You know what I mean? So like Elizabeth as well. So it's like, oh yeah, this looks. I'm surprised they got this many people for this, but it looks cool. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I am curious to watch Pearl, but I don't feel like I need to watch Pearl to see this. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the ex-law people out there will challenge that. I don't know. But like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, from the trailer, I understood the trailer perfectly from the seeing X, So, but yeah, Fitzy, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's cool. Yeah. Not much to add.
Love it. Fly Me to the Moon. Jaden, you saw this one.
Yeah. ScarJo Channing. That's kind of what piqued my interest when it came across the feed. I was like, okay. At first I thought it was going to be a Sinatra biopic, obviously, with the title. But then, like, as soon as I saw Channing, I was like, oh, okay, it's not, because he doesn't look like Sinatra. But it's about the moon mission, and it's just about like the marketing behind it, which is an interesting angle to take. Yeah. Trailer seems like very funny. It kind of seems like something that the Coen brothers would do. I guess is what I'd say in terms of like the wit that's portrayed and like the kind of story that they're telling. Yeah, seems like a good time. I'd definitely go for it.
Cool. Just to be clear, like, Channing's the more interesting part of that duo, right?
Than ScarJo.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're quite a big ScarJo fan, aren't you?
I don't know. I think Once Upon a Time, probably. Yeah. I don't know about nowadays. I haven't really seen her recently. Oh, Asteroid City, actually. No, yeah, she's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to Channing. He definitely caught my eye.
And
then you also, I didn't see that trailer, but you also watched The Last Stop in Yuma County.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Liam, did you watch that one too? No, you didn't get around to it. It's a period piece set in a gas station in buttfuck nowhere, starring Jim Cummings and Jocelyn Donahue, I think the name is. It's a bit of a shoot 'em up, but it seems like a comedy and like a bit of like a road comedy at the same time. Seems once again very fun. Honestly, I could see the Coen brothers taking on something like this as well.
Well, it's just one of them now, right? The Coen brother.
Yeah. It stars not stars, but like one of the other guys in the trailer was the evil dude from Barbarian, Liam. You know, Liam. Yeah. Oh, he's muted. So
I'm muted. Yeah, I said yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, it looks like another funny trailer. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about it because I don't know enough about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Cool. That's good. I like good trailers. Now it's time for our highlights of the week. Liam, get back in here. Oh shit, was that bad? Oh no, you're right.
Yeah, I'm back.
So you got you. Okay, cool. Good. I was
just searching some random shit up. My highlight of the week. I guess I watched all of Ripley, the new
Oh yeah.
Talented Miss Ripley adaptation on Netflix. Yeah, I was kind of, I don't know, I was really into it at first because like some of the some of the it's line for line in some of the scenes, the adaptation, like it's ripped straight from the book, and the kind of cat and mouse game that it entails kind of the last kind of half of the series kind of just goes fully into that. So yeah, I was interested and curious, but I think like yeah, it's just so different from what I imagined the book to be and from what the Hollywood adaptation is. Like when I was reading the book, I was kind of envisioning like the color and some of the characters that the Hollywood adaptation brought us. So it's like having this kind of very lifeless, like black and white um, interpretation of the book with these kind of characters who are more bland, and I guess they try to kind of show the more sociopathic side of the main character, I guess. But it feels a bit, I don't know, it's a bit slow and it felt a bit weird. And it didn't have the kind of life that you expect from Ripley, I guess, because it's, I don't know, part of what makes the book and the movie interesting is like it's the kind of lust for life that Tom Ripley has and the envy that he has for Dickie Greenleaf. And so it kind of cut back on that a bit, but it was interesting what they added, which was they kind of made it out to be like his crimes as kind of this grand like work of art. Like the black and white, it kind of mirrors this artist that they display in the show, Caravaggio, who did like stark black and white paint. Oh no, not black and white. He did like stark paintings with like chiaroscuro, I think it's called, or whatever it is. Where it's like you have really harsh tones, like complementing each other. So what they try to do with that is like pretty interesting. But overall, I just think, I don't know, somehow Andrew Scott left me a little, again, just a little cold. I was surprised how he didn't bring his usual kind of charisma to the role. But yeah, I still liked it. I think the production design is pretty amazing, and it was just cool to see like such an accurate adaptation of the book. But yeah, it did leave me a little bit cold. Again, I'll use that word.
That's interesting. Maybe the book was meant to leave you cold.
Maybe, but it's like the book's so fun because he's just like traveling around Europe doing crimes, you know. And this didn't feel like that.
Yeah, that is interesting. That's very interesting how it's like it sounds all very intentional, but it's just like it just isn't what you imagine. So it's like it's kind of weird. I get it. I finished this show. Have you guys heard of this show called One Day on Netflix?
Oh, I was actually thinking about talking about that. I finished it.
Have you seen it?
I finished it this week too. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yesterday.
I love that so much. Wow, I'm actually shocked. So, okay. What was your trajectory with it? Because mine was that it started really awkward in a bad way, and then like it actually won me over.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I think like the first few episodes, the chemistry wasn't there exactly, and it was kind of this stale dynamic. But then I think it was like episode 5 or 6. It was 5 to 7, so somewhere in that range. Like the dynamic started to change, like beyond what you would have expected, and it was kind of they actually started to feel they started to have a lot of chemistry, and I was like, the show just changed a lot, and it was like awesome past that point.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like it's funny how I get the sense that they were cast based on, because I assume they did tons of chemistry reads with lots of actors and stuff. I get the sense that they were cast based on their chemistry when they're good, like when they're better to, you know what I'm saying, later on when they're like
Yeah.
meant for, when they're actually like together properly kind of
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
because then it's really good. But episode 1 is so awkward in like a confusing way, I found.
Mm.
And the same goes for the Greek episode, man. That was like, what? I don't know. That just did not work for me at all. I was just like, these two just need to, I don't know, do something else. Because like, it just like, I did not feel any sense of longing or anything. I was just kind of like, this is just weird. But yeah, it's funny how, so like, for me, like when I started episode 1, when it was over, I'm like, this, I could drop this kind of thing. And then gave it a few more, and it was like, okay, I'm enjoying aspects of it. It was never like, so it never crossed the line of like, I'm going to stop watching this. It never quite got there. It was like always just enough to keep me going for a few episodes, and then I totally agree. Somewhere around episode 5 to 7 ish, not
Yeah.
quite midway, sort of approaching midway. It just turned where I was just like, okay, no, I actually am enjoying this, and we'll finish it. But then it wasn't until like the last 2 episodes were really good though. They were actually like the show's best, I thought. Just really emotional, really sweet, and it was funny because going into them, I don't know if did you have the same reaction where like when it came up on like the synopsis for like the second to last episode when they were going to smash 3 years in one?
No, I didn't see that. No.
It came up for us before we hit play on it, and it's like it said it was going to do 3 years, and I'm like, well, this is. I was kind of like, I don't know about this, because like that just broke the whole format of what the show's been doing so far, and they ended up being my favorites. So I think because I don't know, the 3 years all felt very connected both times. It felt like they flowed very well, so it was just like it was fine. 10 minutes per year, I was happy with that. But yeah, did you like the ending as well? I don't know, because apparently I didn't realize this is a movie that's also been made with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I love the ending. No, I agree with what you're saying. Like, I think the there's an unexpected kind of how do I say it without? There's an unexpected like aspect of their relationship, which like is kind of revealed in the last few episodes. The way that the one depends on the other, kind of. I don't know, but it was kind of it was a perfect kind of ending. Yeah,
definitely. So yeah, I don't know. Do we recommend it? I guess it's kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'd say try it. Like
try it. Yeah. It's a weird one to recommend, but it's just like we stuck with it and enjoyed it. So like,
well, I kind of forgot about it. Like I was like on episode 5. I was like, yeah, I kind of left it, and then yesterday I picked it up and binged it.
Right. Okay, that's a cool way to do it. Yeah. Right. So you actually would have enjoyed that binge because it all basically got pretty good from there. Cool. Jaden, did you? Sorry, you're muted, by the way.
Were they like 20-minute episodes then?
Oh, it's 20 to 30.
They're pretty short,
Yeah. So one was 18. Yeah, they can get pretty short. Yeah. So yeah, Jaden, did you? I was going to say, did you also watch One Day?
No.
This week.
I watched a few things, but I think I wanted to talk about Quiet on Set, which is that documentary series about Nickelodeon and the shit that happened behind the scenes there. I don't remember if I spoke about the trailer a few months ago when it released, but the trailer was really seedy in the fact that it left this person's sexual assault as a very as a cliffhanger and as a like an engage bait. So I was like, that doesn't read well, you know, the way it's like, oh, this person's never spoken before, but they're speaking now on our show, so watch it. That didn't sit right with me, you know. It's just like, I get why they kind of obscured it for the sake of the series and for the person, because you can't really drop that in the trailer, but the way it was presented just felt dodgy. But you know, I still want to watch it anyway because I think it's an interesting fact. I watched the first 3 episodes. I don't know I think there's 4 currently out, and I don't know how many more there is going to be. But I know there's at least 5. I think. You know, I was expecting the series to take a much kind of harder look at Dan Schneider, but up to this point, he's kind of been a bit of a background focus because, like, I think they're telling the story chronologically. I think because like they're only now approaching like the early 2000s, whereas the first 2 episodes were set very heavily in the 90s, which is a bit pre my time, obviously. So I was expecting to go into the series and like know a lot of like the things about the shows and some of the people, but like a lot of this shit was new to me, especially like all that and like some of like the stance that Nickelodeon had back in the day. And like the first episode kind of talks about Dan and like he was kind of he abused his power and he was a bit weird and like but like as far as what they were showing, like he was a bit dodgy, but he was never that bad. But that's only to this point, so I don't know if he gets any worse later. But then like episode 2 and 3 to kind of take the look at the actual two pedophiles that were on set. I don't know if there's going to be more that are revealed later, which is a crazy thing to say, but like
yeah,
episode 2 kind of takes a look at this one PA, and then episode while simultaneously kind of looking at while starting to look at the other like main guy, the main perpetrator that of this kind of like of what seems to be the series. And then episode 3 reveals who it was, who their big mystery was, and the fact that it was Drake Bell, which is Drake from Drake and Josh, if you don't know, shocked me because I thought it'd be some person that appeared in like as like a guest spot, just like casually would come on, and I never thought it'd be like one of their major stars. And like this, like the story is terrifying and it's heartbreaking because having the dad's perspective, like having Drake's dad's perspective of it, and seeing how hard he fought to protect him, and then to lose it's like truly shattering. And like I don't know, like having like actually like exposing like some of like the it feels like I haven't watched many of those like To Catch a Predator or like any like pedophile shows or whatever, and to have it laid out in front of you how it happened is really kind of disturbing, of like how like even though his dad fought so hard, like there was just he still managed to like weave his way into his life, and like and then like the rift happened, and then his dad kind of got separated, and that's why he just kept on working his way, and it's really kind of fucked up, and like the way the show presents it is like terrifying. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's a good series so far, and kind of like discussing all this stuff, and like definitely has me curious as to what continues to happen, because like to have this in episode 3 and you still got this feels like the big event, so like I don't know what else, how much stuff they got going on. So I don't know. Yeah.
Like how it sounds like you were at least somewhat familiar. Like I've got no knowledge of it.
Oh, everyone knows that Dan Schneider is a creep.
Well, that's what I don't even know who that is.
Like so, like he's like God at Nickelodeon. He created like all their big shows, like of the early 2000s to like the 2000s to like the early 2010s, like iCarly,
like
Victorious, Drake and Josh, and all that shit.
Right.
Like he was like he revolutionized Nickelodeon, and like even like in his 90s stuff, like where they talk about how like with all that and the Amanda Show, like how they made sketch comedy for kids by kids and stuff like that. Like he very much was Nickelodeon's like main guy. But then I knew him as the creator of iCarly and Victorious and all that stuff, and Drake and Josh and stuff. And like there's always jokes littered in his shows that are like weird. There's obviously like the foot fetish stuff, and then there's also like a lot of sexual situations that like some of the characters are put into. I think some of the panelists, some of the talking heads they have are a bit too like one of the jokes I analyze is an early joke about like Amanda Bynes on her show. She played a character called Penelope Taint, and Taint is obviously what a taint is. You do? No. Oh, it's the part between the balls and the asshole. Like that piece of skin there is called the taint.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so when they were writing it, like Dan wrote the character for that reason, but then when Nickelodeon like produced like, hey, like what's going on with his name, is like, oh no, it's like tainted. That joke to me, that doesn't seem that bad, because like to me, we know why he found it funny, because it's funny to hear kids say inappropriate stuff. It's always funny when a kid swears, or like something like that. It's like, to me, that joke is relatively innocent. But one of the talking heads, she goes in on it. It's like, oh, it's disgusting and all this. And maybe if you put it into the context of like the other stuff that happened, I guess you can kind of take it like that. But like on its own, the way they went in on it and the way they've gone in on some of the other jokes feels soft, but there is definitely warranted kind of worry around Dan.
Right. I see. 'Cause I was going to say, I obviously don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of iCarly or Victorious, but I never really, I mean, felt that there were jokes in it that were like,
it's not
boundaries.
incredibly often, but like there are just a few that probably push the barrier too much. And I think when you put them into sequence, all together, is when it arises as an issue.
Yeah, cool. Okay. And that's on. Is that on Foxtel?
Yeah, that's where I've been watching. I don't know if it's anywhere else.
I thought I saw it there. Yeah, cool. Okay. So check it out, guys. Enjoy it. Now comes a segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week we asked you, what is the European city that you most want to visit? To clarify, there was some comments in the Discord about if we asked this question recently. No, we asked where European city you'd most like, or country, I don't remember, what European place you'd most want an action movie to be. So this is a bit different. This is about where you want to go as a person, you know what I mean? A more personal question here. So, yeah, shut up. Andy said, Paris is the European city I want to visit the most. The birth of cinema was planted there, and I am absolutely dying to see a movie at the Paris Cinematique.
Let's just take Cinematic.
Oh, I said it with a gateway accent. Cinema, at the Paris Cinema Place one day. Plus, my favourite older French New Wave films were mostly shot in that city. Liam's phone is entirely set in French. Maybe I can take him with me and we'll find some young kids to abduct like they do in Taken. Jesus. If you've seen the movie before, you'll know Liam Neeson's daughter gets kidnapped in Paris at the start. 2 different Liams in this response, and both Irish. You simply couldn't write this. That was actually pretty clever. Andy, thank you.
Maybe you simply shouldn't have wrote this.
Oh, I thought it was pretty good, Andy, to be honest.
No, I just think the joke of kidnapping kids after I talked about
the
abuse of kids.
Oh, yeah. No, that was poorly done.
Yeah.
if anything, maybe that was your fault. He did write this days ago.
Yeah, that's on me.
But yeah, that's all right. It's fine. Luke said, Iceland or Scotland, somewhere you could see the Northern Lights. I agree with that, but those aren't cities.
Come on, mate.
You just couldn't be bothered looking up Iceland City, Scotland City,
Reykjavik.
Yeah. Is that? Did I say it right? Reykjavik? Is that how you'd say it?
I'd put a bit more of a Reykjavik on it, but I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I like that. Yeah, I'm not going to try.
But I think that's just more Eastern European way of saying it. I don't know if it's right. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to go to Iceland, but it just looks cold, man. It just looks cold. Like I don't know how long I'd last, kind of thing. Like maybe I could see myself darting up there for a couple days when I'm already in Europe doing other shit, kind of thing. I couldn't see myself like, let's go to Iceland for 2 weeks. I don't know about that, but I would like to go there at some stage. Okay. European city we most want to visit. Is Liam's a shoe-in?
Of what?
Paris? No.
Yeah,
Surely.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I don't. Yeah, I want to go to Paris, but I don't think I have much. Like, it'd be way more expensive to do this, but I'd rather just like start in Paris and like go wherever I feel like. I wouldn't. I don't have like a bucket list or anything of like big cities I want to go to. I would just be more, free wheeling, whatever with it. But yeah, I do.
Free walling the house.
Free what? Walling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to go to Paris because I don't know.
It's Paris.
It's Paris, yeah, sure.
Are there any other French cities that tickle your fancy? A few times.
Yeah, I'd like to go like southern France, Nice and whatever. See the palaces and stuff and the castles, the chateaus,
Oh yeah. Do you know anything about Lyon? Like I don't know, is that place cool? I just know it exists.
Lyon,
and it has a cool name.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do people go there? I don't know.
I know Leon the
go
Professional.
True,
That's
not that.
about it.
Yeah,
They got a pretty good soccer team there too.
they do.
Yeah, Olympic Lyon.
Okay,
You know,
there you go.
PSG. They're kind of like the big head. You know.
Oh, okay, okay, there you go. I want to go to Dubrovnik.
Boo.
Yeah, I thought
Like
I
a
was
nerd.
scared. I was scared about that, but yeah, I do. Why?
Game of
Because it's
Thrones,
King's Landing.
obviously.
It's fucking
Mm.
dude. Have you seen? But the thing about it is though, right? I feel like this is pretty easy to justify. It's not a situation where it's like, oh, this is where they shot King's Landing. You know, it's not like you don't have to be super nerdy about it. Just fucking look at it. Just look at a photo. It's like clearly King's Landing. It's like fantastic. You know what I mean? It's like all they did was CG the Red Keep there, and it's like that's it. The rest of it is just King's Landing. So it's like that's dope. You know what I mean? You don't have to play any mental gymnastics when you don't have to arrive there and go like, oh, I guess that kind of looks like. It's like, dude, no, you're just in King's Landing. Oh, that's awesome. So I want to go there.
But Zach, didn't they also
sure.
shoot in Iceland? Like, surely that makes you want to go to Iceland.
Where the what like fucking
The
bloody
north,
beyond the wall
like
and
beyond the
shit.
wall. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. No, I never want to do that. That sounds terrible. I'm happy to watch that on my screen. But yeah, I mean, that is my answer. I do want to go to Sweden though, so I guess Stockholm. Right. I want to check that. I want to Scandinavia as well. That's sort of the other key area. I don't feel as strongly about Stockholm specifically, so that's why it wasn't my answer. But I do want to go up there as well. Jaden, what about you?
Well, I just really want to visit everywhere, you know, obviously. But I think I'm obligated to say, you know, Macedonian cities, Orchid, Pretty Lip, you know, Kijevo, Cardamone, I don't know, anywhere there.
Yeah.
Probably needs to be my first destination.
Yeah. I've never heard of any of those cities. Is that okay for me and Matt?
Yeah,
is that okay?
Fine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect you to.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. How do you feel about I can't say that. I was actually somewhat genuinely going to ask how do you feel about Greece? Oh, sorry. I want to go to Greece. I'll just say that. I'll speak for myself. I want to go to Greece. I don't know about any city. Like I know obviously Athens, right? But like I don't know. Like is Athens good? I don't know. I don't feel like I ever hear about. I hear about people going to Greece. I don't really hear about people going to Athens. So I don't really know if people go to Athens.
No, people go to Athens. Athens,
They do?
like Thebes, Sparta, Corfu.
Is Sparta a city?
Yeah, well, it was back in the day. I guess it was.
I thought it was like wasn't it like a country or some shit? Or like
back in the day, the Greek Poli, the Greek, it was just a bunch of cities. So they're all cities, but maybe Sparta's a state today because it was just so big. But yeah.
Yeah. I get you. Okay. Cool. That's good. Does anyone want to go to Liechtenstein?
I think it's really expensive there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, isn't it like the most expensive GDP?
Yeah. Because isn't it got something to do with like because it's like obviously it's like a tiny place. It's like it's got something to do, with like their tax, like something.
Yeah, I was watching a video on it, where like I think the dude like spent like $14 on like one coffee, and like
right.
I don't know. I think to the Yanks that's normal, but like I think if you compare it to like obviously like the surrounding cities, like it's shocking.
Yeah, but I think it's got something to do with like the rich people can go there.
Yeah.
Something. It's like a tax haven. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of my ass.
Oh,
maybe.
I mean, I'd like to go to Switzerland. Speaking of tax havens.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's right there. It's on the border, I think, of Liechtenstein. So there you go. You can hit both in one. Although I think you can like basically like do a 20-minute jog from one end of Liechtenstein to the other. So like you'd feel pretty comfortable. You'd experience the country. That's cool. Okay. Very good. As always, we'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, and/or reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section, the Instagram comment section, or join the Discord server this week. The specific question we'll be asking you is, hopefully you might be able to do it off memory if you're a hardcore fan out there, but Otherwise, I don't know. Might have to do some research. But we're asking, and it'll be a good discussion between us as well. What is the best and worst franchise we've reviewed so far? We've done quite a few now. That playlist counter on YouTube's building up, so you got a few options there. So that's where you can check as well if you need to know what we've reviewed. Check the playlists on YouTube, see all the franchises. What's the best one and the worst one? Let us know. Okay. That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Fitzy, what are we doing next week?
We're doing a walkabout, which is on Prime and Netflix. It's an Australian film, I believe. Although I don't think Nicholas Roeg, how do you say it is? He's English, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's about the Australian landscape, so it's fairly Australian. I don't know much about it, but
Yeah.
I know it by reputation. So yeah.
Same here. I'm exactly the same. Wake and Fright, around the same time, we reviewed that. God, we reviewed that over 4 years ago, by the way. Which is crazy. That I think a British dude directed that as well, right? As much as I remember. I think so.
Maybe.
I can't.
So I know something about big Aussie movies back then were like always British dudes.
I was a Canadian.
Oh, Canadian! Wow, that's something else. Cool.
Was he Canadian Australian though, or was he just Canadian?
I'd say Canadian, but maybe integrated. I don't know.
I was pretty sure he wasn't Australian, but who knows? Okay, that's it. I appreciate Liam and Jan for joining me as always. Have a great rest of your week out there, and goodbye.